Have you ever found yourself on the brink of something great, only to do the one thing that guarantees it all falls apart? You're about to finish a project you've poured your heart into, but suddenly, you can't bring yourself to write the final chapter. You're in a healthy, loving relationship, and you inexplicably pick a fight over something trivial, pushing your partner away. You're offered a promotion at work, the one you've been dreaming of, and you find yourself forgetting to send the acceptance email or downplaying your own qualifications in a meeting. This is the maddening, confusing, and often painful dance of self-sabotage. It's the invisible force that seems to pull the rug out from under you just as you're about to reach the finish line. It's the voice in your head that whispers, "You don't deserve this," or "You're going to fail anyway, so why even try?" It's the pattern of behavior that leaves you staring at the wreckage of your own best efforts, asking the same devastating question: why do I keep doing this to myself? We tend to frame this behavior in terms of personal failing. We call it laziness, lack of discipline, low self-esteem, or a fear of failure. We see it as a flaw, a bug in our system that needs to be fixed or eradicated through sheer force of will. We tell ourselves to just do it, to get over it, to be stronger, better, more focused. But what if that's the wrong approach entirely? What if the very act we label as self-destruction is, in fact, a deeply ingrained, powerfully primitive form of self-preservation? This is the paradox we're going to unravel today. The reason you keep self-sabotaging isn't because you're broken or weak. It's because a part of your brain is trying, with the best of intentions, to keep you alive. Self-sabotage isn't a malfunction. It's a survival skill, an outdated, misguided, and often counterproductive survival skill, but a survival skill nonetheless. And once you understand why it exists and what it's trying to do for you, you can finally begin to change your relationship with it, and in doing so, change the course of your life. To understand this, we need to take a journey deep into the architecture of the human mind. Our brains are not a single, unified entity. They are a complex collection of different parts that evolved over millions of years, each with its own agenda and its own language. For our purposes, let's simplify this into two key players: the conscious, rational mind and the subconscious, primitive brain. Your conscious mind is the part you identify as you. It's the CEO sitting in the prefrontal cortex. It sets goals, makes plans, dreams of a better future, and understands abstract concepts like happiness, fulfillment, and long-term success. It's the part of you that signs up for the gym, applies for the new job, and decides to start a new, healthy relationship. It operates on logic, reason, and aspiration. But deep beneath this modern, sophisticated CEO is a much older, much more powerful manager: the primitive brain. This is your limbic system, your amygdala. This isn't the CEO. This is the head of security. Its job is not to make you happy, fulfilled, or successful. Its job is singular and non-negotiable: to keep you safe, to ensure the survival of the organism. This part of your brain has been running the show for hundreds of thousands of years, long before concepts like career goals or romantic fulfillment ever existed. It doesn't understand your 5-year plan. It understands threats, and it has a very simple toolkit to deal with them: fight, flight, or freeze. And here is the crucial piece of the puzzle. To your primitive brain, anything that is unknown is a potential threat. Certainty equals safety. Uncertainty equals danger. The familiar, even if it's painful, is known. It's a predictable landscape. You know the rules, you know the outcome, and you know you can survive it because you already have. A dead-end job is miserable, but it's a familiar misery. A lonely apartment is sad, but it's a familiar sadness. The cycle of procrastination and last-minute panic is stressful, but it's a familiar stress. Success, on the other hand, is the great unknown. That new job? It comes with new responsibilities, new colleagues who might judge you, and the potential for a new, more catastrophic kind of failure. That loving relationship? It requires vulnerability, a new level of intimacy, and the terrifying possibility of a deeper kind of heartbreak if it ends. Finishing that novel? It means putting your work out into the world to be judged, criticized, or worst of all, ignored. Your conscious mind sees these things and sees opportunity, growth, and happiness. Your primitive brain's alarm bells start ringing. Danger, unknown territory, potential for predators. And so, The head of security steps in to protect you from this perceived threat. It doesn't use logic or reason. It uses its ancient, effective tools. Pulls the fire alarm. This is self-sabotage. It is your subconscious mind's desperate, well-intentioned attempt to pull you back from the edge of the unknown and return you to the painful but predictable safety of the familiar. Let's look at how this plays out in the most common forms of self-sabotage. Take procrastination. We call it laziness, but it's rarely about a simple unwillingness to work. Procrastination is a masterful freeze response. When you're faced with a task that carries the weight of potential failure or judgment, a big report for your boss, studying for a crucial exam, creating a piece of art, your primitive brain flags it as a threat. The judgment of others could, in an ancient tribal context, lead to ostracization, which meant death. So, to protect you from this social death, it makes starting the task feel emotionally impossible. You feel a wave of anxiety, a sudden urge to clean the kitchen, a compelling need to research the history of paperclips. This isn't you being lazy. This is your nervous system applying the emergency brake to keep you from driving into what it perceives as a dangerous situation. The arena of judgment. By procrastinating, you avoid the discomfort of a potential failure. You stay in the familiar, albeit stressful, holding pattern of not having started yet. Then there's perfectionism. This is one of the most insidious and socially acceptable forms of self-sabotage. It masquerades as a commitment to high standards, but in reality, it's a fortress built to protect you from criticism. The logic of the primitive brain is flawless here. If I never finish it, it can never be judged. If the standard is impossibly high, I have a built-in excuse for never completing the task. The perfectionist isn't afraid of doing a bad job. They're terrified of what will happen once the job is done and handed over to the world. So they tweak, they revise, they polish, they redo, stuck in a loop of endless preparation. They are freezing in the final stages. This protects them from the verdict of the outside world. The project remains a perfect, unrealized potential, safe from the messy reality of criticism and imperfection. It's a survival strategy to avoid the perceived danger of judgment. Let's talk about relationships. You meet someone wonderful. They're kind, they're supportive, they see the best in you. Your conscious mind is ecstatic, but your subconscious security guard might be in panic mode. If you've been hurt before, or if your early life taught you that love is conditional or unsafe, then true intimacy is the most threatening territory of all. It requires letting your guard down, being vulnerable, and trusting someone with the power to wound you deeply. To the primitive brain, this is madness. So it intervenes to protect you. You start finding flaws in your partner. You misinterpret a text message as a sign of betrayal. You pick a fight over whose turn it is to do the dishes, but the fight is really about creating distance, about pushing them away before they can get too close and inevitably abandon you. By sabotaging the relationship, you regain a sense of control. The ending happens on your terms. You are the one who walks away, not the one who is left. The pain of the breakup is sharp, but it's a pain you initiated, a pain you control. It feels safer than the terrifying vulnerability of waiting for the other shoe to drop. You've successfully protected yourself from a potentially greater pain by creating a smaller, more manageable one. This ties into another key reason why self-sabotage feels like a survival skill. It maintains a coherent identity. We all have a story we tell ourselves about who we are. For many of us, shaped by childhood experiences, that story might be, I'm not good enough, I'm unlovable, or I always mess things up. These beliefs, however painful, form the bedrock of our identity. They are familiar. They are known. Now, imagine you start to succeed. You get the promotion. You fall in love. You finish the book. This new reality directly contradicts your core story. It creates a state of intense psychological discomfort known as cognitive dissonance. Your conscious mind is happy, but your subconscious is sounding the alarm. This isn't right. This isn't who we are. This is unfamiliar territory. The brain craves consistency. It would rather be consistently miserable than inconsistently happy, because consistency is predictable and safe. So, to resolve this dissonance, it will find a way to bring your reality back in line with your identity. You will find a way to mess up. You'll miss the deadline for the new role. You'll push your partner away. You'll find a reason why your finished book is actually terrible and shouldn't be published. The sabotage isn't a failure. From your brain's perspective, it's a success. It has restored order. It has brought you back to the familiar, safe identity of being someone who messes things up. You can breathe a sigh of relief. The world makes sense again, even if it's a world in which you are unhappy. You have survived the threat of a new identity. Furthermore, self-sabotage gives us a twisted but powerful sense of control. The ultimate fear for most of us is not just failure, but helpless failure. The kind of failure where we give our absolute best, we pour our entire soul into something, and it's still not good enough. That kind of rejection can feel like an annihilation of the self. It's a verdict on our fundamental worth. Self-sabotage offers a way out. It allows us to control the narrative of our own failure. If you procrastinate until the last minute and then turn in a rushed, mediocre report, and you get negative feedback, you can tell yourself, well, of course it wasn't great. I only spent a few hours on it. If I had really tried, I could have done better. You see, you haven't failed. Your effort has failed. You have protected your core self, your potential, from judgment. You chose the time and manner of your own downfall. In a strange way, this feels more powerful than giving your all and facing the possibility of an uncontrolled, devastating rejection. It's a preemptive strike. You burn the village down yourself so the invaders can't. It's a desperate act of preserving agency in the face of overwhelming fear. This also explains imposter syndrome, the persistent feeling that you're a fraud and will soon be found out, despite all evidence of your competence. Imposter syndrome is your primitive brain's ongoing risk assessment program. It's constantly whispering, "This is too good to be true. We don't belong here. The fall from this height will be catastrophic." This feeling keeps you playing small. It stops you from speaking up in meetings, from taking on challenging projects, from celebrating your own achievements. It's a freeze response designed to keep you from drawing the attention of predators. If you stay quiet and invisible, no one will notice you're an imposter, and you won't have to face the humiliation of being found out. It's a survival strategy to maintain your place in the tribe by not challenging the established order or flying too high. So we have this internal conflict. The CEO of your brain wants to grow, expand, and seek fulfillment. The head of security wants to keep you in the familiar, fortified bunker where nothing new, good or bad, can get in. And because the head of security controls the alarm systems, the flood of cortisol and adrenaline that creates anxiety and fear, it often wins. If this is the case, are we doomed to repeat these patterns forever? Is free will just an illusion, constantly overruled by our ancient wiring? The answer is a resounding no. The key to breaking the cycle of self-sabotage is not to fight your security system. You can't win a war against a part of yourself, especially a part that holds the keys to your most powerful emotions. Fighting it, shaming it, or trying to crush it with willpower will only make it scream louder and pull the emergency brake harder. The path forward is through understanding, compassion, and negotiation. You have to befriend your saboteur. You have to become a diplomat to your own nervous system. The first step, as with anything, is awareness. You must learn to notice the sabotage as it's happening, but without the usual layer of self-judgment. When you feel the overwhelming urge to procrastinate, instead of saying, "Ugh, I'm so lazy," try to observe it with curiosity. Say to yourself, "Ah, there it is, the urge to avoid. Interesting." You are separating yourself from the behavior. You are not the procrastination. You are the one who is observing the procrastination. This simple act of noticing creates a sliver of space between the impulse and the action. The second step is to get curious and ask a different question. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" ask, "What is this behavior trying to protect me from?" This is a game-changing question. It shifts the entire dynamic from self-criticism to self-inquiry. When you're picking a fight with your partner, pause and ask, "What am I really afraid of right now? Am I afraid of being vulnerable? Am I afraid of being abandoned?" When you're endlessly polishing a project, ask, "What judgment am I trying to avoid by not finishing this?" You are starting a dialogue with your head of security. You're asking to see its threat assessment report. The third step is compassion and reassurance. Once you have a hypothesis about the fear, you need to speak to that scared, primitive part of your brain in a language it understands. It doesn't understand logic, but it does understand safety and reassurance. You can do this internally. You can literally say to yourself, I know you're scared. This feels new and uncertain, and you're trying to protect us. I appreciate you for that. Thank you for looking out for me. But we are not in mortal danger here. This is a different context. I am the adult in the room now, and I can handle this. We are safe. This might sound silly, but you are actively soothing your own amygdala. You are telling your nervous system that the alarm is a false one. You are acknowledging the protector's good intentions while gently overriding its outdated programming. You are parenting that younger, more fearful part of yourself. The fourth and most crucial step is to take small, manageable, safe actions. Your primitive brain doesn't learn from your words. It learns from experience. You can't reason it into believing the new job is safe. You have to show it. So you break it down into the smallest possible steps. Your goal isn't to overcome procrastination and finish the project. Your goal is to open the document and write one sentence. That's it. One sentence is not a life or death threat. Your nervous system can handle that. Once you do it, you've provided a tiny piece of evidence that this activity is survivable. You've created a new data point. The next day, your goal is to write one paragraph. The day after, 2 paragraphs. You are slowly, gently expanding the boundaries of your comfort zone. You are demonstrating to your head of security, through repeated, non-threatening experiences, that this new territory is safe to explore. This is how you build trust with yourself. For relationships, it might be sharing one small vulnerability. For a new job, it might be speaking up for just 30 seconds in one meeting. These are not grand, heroic acts. They are small, consistent acts of courage that slowly retrain your brain to associate new things not with danger, but with competence and reward. Finally, you need to redefine your relationship with failure. As long as failure is framed as a catastrophe, your brain will do everything in its power to avoid it. You must begin to see failure not as a verdict on your worth, but as data. It's information. It's a learning experience. When an experiment in a lab doesn't work, the scientist doesn't have a breakdown and declare themselves a worthless human being. They say, okay, that approach didn't work. I have learned something. Let's try a different approach. When you take a risk and it doesn't pan out, you must adopt the same mindset. This wasn't a failure. It was a test. Produced a result. You now have more information for your next attempt. By draining failure of its emotional charge, you make it a less terrifying prospect for your primitive brain. It becomes a survivable event, and therefore the need to sabotage yourself to avoid it begins to diminish. This is not a quick fix. You are working to update a security system that has been in place your entire life, a system that is, in its essence, millions of years old. There will be times when the old programming kicks in. The alarms will go off. You will find yourself procrastinating again. You will catch yourself picking a fight. The goal is not perfection. The goal is a new relationship with yourself. A relationship built not on shame and willpower, but on curiosity, compassion, and understanding. The next time you feel the pull of self-sabotage, I want you to pause, take a breath, and instead of fighting it, I want you to greet it as an old, misguided friend. A friend who is just trying to keep you safe, using the only tools it has ever known. Acknowledge its presence. Thank it for its concern. And then, with gentle compassion, show it that you are safe, that you are capable, and that it's okay to step into the unknown. Because the familiar bunker, while safe, is where dreams go to die. The life you truly want to live, the growth you seek, the love you deserve. It's all waiting for you, just outside the comfort zone, in the beautiful, uncertain territory that your saboteur is so afraid of. And you can get there, not by slaying the dragon of self-sabotage, but by learning to walk alongside it, reassuring it with every small, courageous step you take.